Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Baki, the podcast where we talk Baki. I think it's actually Baki Talki. That's something I can fix in editing, or just change the name of the podcast. This is only episode 2, but this is the show where I invite my friends, I guess, on and force them to watch an episode of Baki, potentially out of context, and get their opinions on it. So without further ado, say hello to our co-host for the episode, Max.
Yeah, I am welcomed.
So Max, first question for you. What did you know about Baki going into this? Like, have you ever watched the show, or do you know anything about it?
No, and what proved how little I knew was when you said, "Oh, not Baki Hanma," and I went, "Oh, so I really know nothing about this space in any form, especially the Netflix created anime."
Yes. Yeah, there is 2 of them. And before we jump into it, just my fun little icebreaker question so my viewers can get to know you. Other than Baki, what shows are you watching?
Ooh, great question. Very dissimilar shows. So I'm watching Barry, I'm watching Vampire Diaries, and I'm rewatching Lost, which is I used to have a stand-up joke that why would you watch Lost? It's like watching a reality TV show for the second time. But it's actually good. Surprise, surprise.
I'm gonna edit this episode to just that clip and show it to Lindsay, and then we'll finish our Lost rewatch. Man, that's fun. It's almost like you and Barry just got in a time machine back to what, like 2010 or whenever those other 2 were on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it's back to back Ian Somerhalder shows. So I actually only watch shows with Ian Somerhalder. Barry's an exception.
I'm sure he'll come on to it soon. So, Max, you watched episode 2 of Baki. I watched it as well. A lot happens in this episode. If you had to summarize it, like in a few sentences, like what happens?
Well, what's really interesting about this episode, having no context of the show, which they actually, I gotta give some credit to Baki. It actually does kind of basically introduce what I think are the key themes. Like, I'm not lost watching the show because I think it's still early enough, but there's no arc to this episode. In fact, it ends with what is a completely new story to me, and a history lesson to a degree.
Oh yeah, about the 4,000 years of Chinese martial arts. Yeah. They love to give a little bit of a backstory there.
Yeah. So if I were to break it down, the show is basically Mortal Kombat, the anime, where it's based on a tournament that happened, and then this is like an unofficial challenging of, I don't know, Baki, like the son of the strongest man. And this episode's really about a few things. Tricks with your hands.
Yep,
Peeing.
Lots of that. Okay. Yep.
And introducing a new character every 40 seconds.
Oh man, yeah. No, that was Jack's big comment, because he did the first episode, was that he doesn't know Baki because they keep introducing all of these randos.
I'm glad I'm on theme.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's dive into a few parts of the episode. So, I guess just at the beginning. So, did you catch what's going on? That 5 death row inmates from across the world have decided to come to Tokyo, impromptu, like without telling each other.
Yes, I did get that. They brought it up. There's no connection between them besides the fact that they're all going to Tokyo for vacation. And also, I guess they leave out the fact that they were in this, I'm presuming, this old tournament that happened like 20 years ago.
I think it happened like pretty recently. Like Baki has a cast, I think, from that tournament.
Oh, I was going to say, like, did he hurt himself in episode 1?
No, he was just bruised.
And he breaks it.
Yeah, no, to be honest, it's way more efficient.
It's true. I guess you just wait till your muscles are strong enough, and then the doctor just says, yeah, just flex.
I've been wearing this cast for 30 years. My muscles just aren't strong enough.
I should just wear casts for when people want to mug me or challenge me to street fights, and then I can just flex, smash them off as a way as a way of deterring. Even though he kind of uses it as an invitation, I suppose. Baki, he's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, Baki was completely like, he just went along with it. Okay, so you understood the basic premise. Nothing jumps out to you as odd about the five guys just showing up in Tokyo to fight people.
Well, I was confused that Baki at 17 years old was the strongest man in Tokyo. Like that was some title that he owned.
Well, he won a tournament, but and he beat up a lot of the other characters we see in this episode.
Interesting. Is this like Yu-Gi-Oh, where there was a season 0?
Well, so here's the fun part, and I feel like I'm going to explain this every episode. But Baki is a very long-running story, and so this anime is more or less picking up where the previous one left off. The thing is, the previous anime is from 2001, and Baki is actually the 6th longest-running manga of all time, and has more volumes than One Piece.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Not a lot happens in it other than just guys fighting each other in Tokyo.
It's pretty great. I have a lot of opinions, but I'll let you. We can kind of jump to it here.
I want to hear your opinions, but maybe if I had to get... Oh, no, you go first. I want to hear your opinions.
So this is my initial opinion, because I think we're going to go in some chronological order here. So immediately we get this intro, which is just masked silhouettes and then explosions in the night, and then what looked to be like an animated rendering of Rocky 4, and my first thought, which carried out throughout the episode, was these are the ugliest muscles I've ever seen in any show ever. The muscles are so unappealing and weird, especially on Baki's father.
Oh my god, it's almost like body horror when he's doing the splits and
oh my god. It's just, oh my god, out of context it was hilarious, just to cut to everything.
Yeah, the author or mangaka or whatever it's called has a very distinct art style that it has changed throughout the years, but they're always extremely muscly and not very appealing. Yeah, but the opening, I like it. It's pretty rockin'. I think they say Baki at the end, but they might just be saying something in Japanese. So
yeah, it's very high pitched. I think it's like Baki.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Like a custom song made for them. Or Baki's such a big hit that you can just throw his name into any song in Japan.
It's the opposite of Pitbull. They do it at the end.
Exactly. So yeah, the opening was good. So one scene I enjoyed. Did you catch the name of the kickboxer that was jogging through the park?
Yes, I did. Because the funny is someone walking or watching just goes, "It's Robinson."
Oh, check it out! It's Robinson. Yeah, Rob Robinson, the kickboxer.
It's Rob Robinson.
Oh, it's Rob Robinson, who is officially the ugliest person in the show.
Yeah, for now.
Right now.
He was not very brave for a kickboxer, I would say.
Yeah, and used his hands.
Yeah, walk us through what happened to Rob Robinson, because I assume most of the audience is my mom, who probably won't watch this episode.
Oh my god, to describe this episode is such a treat. So basically, he's running through what looks like Central Park, and he's melting from his face. In that, with a very light jog, he's both sweating and mucusing from every orifice on his visage. And someone calls out, "It's Rob Robinson." Me, not knowing anything about the show, go, "Sure." Local celebrity Rob Robinson. And then comes this like mystery person who's looking very punk and looking like they're one of the members from Team Magma.
Yep.
Comes up and like basically through a stare alone challenges this guy, and then Rob as a kickboxer grabs the collar and then exclaims very slowly, "There are razors in the collar." And
You don't want a piece of this. Razor blades? What the hell's wrong with you, man?
and then there's the weirdest. I've watched the episode twice. It still doesn't make sense. So this Team Magma, leader then does this motion which looks like like a chop-ish motion, and then I think it's his elbow has metal in it or something, and then his neck explodes.
Ah, yes. I can add some color to this. So for our listeners, this is Doyle. You might remember him from last episode as the guy who was in the electric chair but survived. And what Doyle's gimmick is that he has placed many weapons on and in his body. So in this scenario, he put a little knife inside his elbow, which he used to instantly kill Rob Robinson, the kickboxer.
My God, I was so confused because the cut of the elbow, like I only put it together now. It just looks like a corner of his body with metal in it, and I'm like, what did he do? And then he explodes.
Yeah, Rob Robinson just bleeds out there. Like, he would have died of blood loss in 3 seconds.
I feel bad for the lone Rob Robinson fan who exclaims it at the beginning of the scene to then, as soon as they see their local hero just look like he's being mugged, and then to literally die a horrific geyser-like death.
He's like he's still describing Rob Robinson to his friend, and then he's like, "No, Rob Robinson."
He turns away to go, "Oh, no, he's the local kickboxing champion. Look, he's about to, oh, he's dead."
Oh my God. That 7-foot man in a turtleneck just killed him.
There's a lot of giant people in this show, by the way.
Yeah, no, their size doesn't make sense. Like, they make sense in context, where, like, if you see all of the fighters together, you're like, okay. But then when the fighters interact with the regular population, you realize that, like, the average person in Baki is, like, 4'2". Like,
including Baki.
Baki's short. He might actually be, like, 5'2" or something. But, he's got grit and karate skills, and that's all you need. All right. So after the kickboxing incident, we have a scene where some goons start talking to some schoolyard hooligans. Can you walk us through this interaction?
Yes. I think this is the scene where I'm like, are these a bunch of street performers?
They're very close to that.
Now watch closely. All right, where's the knife? Here? Or is it here? Where could it be? It's right here.
Mr. Hiroshima, you're just incredible.
So it's basically, for those who didn't watch the episode, it's basically a bunch of low-level criminals, like very mediocre criminals, showing off their weapons of choice. One of whom, there's a few. So one of whom is just showing knives in his fingers. I think he's just like flipping a coin. He's just doing that, and everyone else is so amazed. They're like, "Oh my God, this is the best criminal in Tokyo. He's fucking flipping his knives through his fingers like they're coins in Looper." You know what I mean? And then I think it's the same guy puts a can on top of some guy's head to be like, "No, watch this." And then he does this whole trick where he's like butterfly knife style, like showing it off in this figure 8, and then does a move just to do like the tiniest sliver in the Coke can, and then it pours all over the guy's face. And he goes, "Oh my God!"
Yes, the hooligans were very impressed by these street performers, as you called them.
It's pretty amazing. And then there's, of course, a weapon that comes back later in the episode is I don't know what you'd call it. It's like a chain with what could be considered a sex toy based on its size.
I'll add it in the edit. I don't know what it's called. It's called a rope dart.
But yeah, it's a great scene, and I think it establishes that these people want to challenge the strongest man in Tokyo, this little circus crew.
Well, the strongest boy in Tokyo. But we'll get to that. So what happens when they try? Are they able to intimidate Baki at all, or?
Yeah, this leads to one of my favorite characters in the episode, by the way. I don't even know how to describe, one, his ethnicity, and two, his style, but my goodness, I love everything about it, and how greasy of a weasel he is. And he basically tries to threaten Baki.
Why would I come with you? Come with me, or... Look, just come with me, all right?
And this prompts our earlier discussed, power move, which is, first of all, he corners Baki with his, his little backwards cap and his green sweater behind what I could only assume is the local Boys and Girls Club swimming pool.
Yeah.
And they're stomping grounds, their turf, and then Baki, through one, flex, shatters his cast into a million pieces through this slow-mo montage, which the other guys both impressed and terrified. And then Baki releases what is really a flirtatious look and comment where he's like, "I'll see you wherever you want," or whatever.
All right, Chuckle Nuts, let's go.
Ooh, subtext. Interesting.
Yeah.
So then he goes to see them, and it's Baki versus a bunch of street performers. Of course, he styles on them easily. We talked about the one guy with a switchblade and the one guy with a rope and a rock or whatever. Did you notice one guy was just basically Crocodile Dundee and just had a big knife he carried around?
Wait. Is this the guy? Because this is one of my favorite moments in the episode, when they go to the mob boss little locker room or whatever it is, and he has the book.
Yeah. And he cuts through the phone book with his big knife.
I've never seen anything so random and a method so unique to threaten people. He basically cuts a phone book with his Crocodile Dundee knife, and then all of his hooligans go, "Oh!"
Editor's note, this isn't really an audio moment, but here's the dramatic noise when it happens.
Jeez.
Well, they're just thinking, that could be me. I'm like a phone book. That knife could cut right through me.
These guys are like Chris Angel enthusiasts. all these displays of skill are so funny.
Yeah. Well, you know who has a real display of skill though in this episode? Spec, the
Oh my God.
9 foot tall man who. Well, do you want to describe what he does when he introduces himself?
Oh my God! First of all, this guy. If the episode, if the knife through the phone book wasn't the peak of the episode, the other peak has to be every single moment Spec is on screen. This dude is dressed up like he's Darth Maul.
He looks like
without,
the Undertaker, like an unironic Undertaker, just in the daytime.
He's this giant bald man. Oh, he looks like General Snoke or Stoke. What?
Yeah. You know, he does. His face sort of does look like Snoke. Yeah, Snoke.
Supreme Leader Snoke.
And
what an iconic character.
And so
Grand leader.
Iconic character in an iconic trilogy. And I think it's the hand thing, right? He goes to shake. He extends his hand to Baki as that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
To the strongest man. You've broken out of what they describe later to be an underwater sea prison. It's 200 meters below sea level. To come to Tokyo to then shake hands with the strongest boy in all the land. And then as he does it, he kicks him straight in the face with what looked like a laser kick. Like his leg just turns into like a Kamehameha fireball.
A real handshake. Don't disappoint me or I'll make sure that you regret it. One last thing. So long for now, little boy.
What a prankster, this guy. What a prankster. The best part is that scene ends. Well, should we go in chronological order?
Well, I did want to touch on one part of that scene when he shoots himself in the face.
Oh my god.
Now that is like breaking your own cast is pretty cool. What Spec does is he first of all takes the gun of a person who is so intimidated by him he can't move, takes their gun, opens his mouth and shoots through one cheek out the other, then does it 5 more times to empty the barrel, and then just continues talking like with no difference to his speech, which is also interesting. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
That is the craziest thing ever. First of all, you're missing the part where he then blows smoke through these cheek holes like he's a dragon.
Yeah.
And then in addition to like it in classic like anime superhero form, I'm thinking is going to demonstrate his ability, because all of these guys you learn have a thing.
Yeah.
Right? They all have like whatever, like like some sort of ability or move or style, like
metal elbows.
Like metal elbows, or the karate guy who falls in love with Chinese Kempo. Yeah. Basically Spec's thing is he's weird and big.
No,
apparently.
that's not even Spec's thing. You know what Spec's thing is?
What?
Bet you didn't know that I've been exercising without breathing for 5 minutes at a time.
He can hold his breath for 5 minutes.
You're kidding me.
That's how he escaped the underwater prison.
Well, then what did the 4 other guys do? Live in his mouth?
What? No, the 4 other guys were from 4 other prisons. It all happened across the world. Doyle's from like Ireland.
Oh. Okay, I gotcha. Well, anyway, Spec is a freak, and I thought he was gonna demonstrate some healing ability, and then no, he's literally bleeding from his smoke-filled cheek holes, and which disappear later in the episode. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah. If you don't die in Baki, it's gonna buff out. Yeah, okay, so I'm just gonna move on just because I want to get to the potentially most interesting part of the episode. I think right after that we meet Yujiro Hanma, who is Baki's dad, of course. We don't get to see too much time with him. What were your impressions on the strongest man alive?
I don't know if you can have a better introduction to a character ever. You cut to this man in what I can only think is either a Red Ration or a Holiday Inn. The bed is poor and the paintings are minimal. And he's watching on the what is the thickest TV in existence, probably. And he is doing a perfect split, like 5 feet from the television at the end of the bed. Just a perfect extended split. Super gross muscles everywhere. Like it looks like he almost has like warts or like welts that have just completely ballooned into tumors with more welts and other boils. And he's smoking a cigarette. Meanwhile, he looks just like a demon.
Yep.
This man is not human, and he's smoking a cigarette, leaps from this perfect yoga pose, Warrior 5, right? And then kicks the cigarette into a million pieces.
Yeah, it was a very athletic act to do something that was not necessary in the slightest. I don't think I don't think anybody who smokes has ever even thought, I wish I could do a kickflip and kick my butt out.
And again, something that, like, it doesn't take a lot of strength to break a cigarette.
No.
No. But the fact that that's his training method. He smokes with the splits, does a flip, and he does 2 sets.
He doesn't realize that the splits is doing 99% of the work. And he thinks that he's getting stronger from kicking the cigarette.
I would love if he doesn't do any other workout routine. That's it.
He keeps telling his friends that he's kicking his smoking habit.
Right in the bud.
Yeah. Did you like the description of him? I think they said that feared by martial artists and politicians around the world.
Yujiro Hanma, Baki's father, a.k.a. the world's strongest man. He has enough power to destroy an entire army with his bare hands. He's feared by martial artists and politicians the world over.
Yeah, that was another thing about this. What's cool about the show is they almost bring over that manga element to it, where a narrator introduces everybody. So even though there's 50 new characters every 2 seconds, they are at least described and given a mini flashback.
Yeah, which is helpful. Because if we didn't learn who he is, this scene would be a man doing the splits, then he does a kickflip, and then the scene ends. Actually, no, wait. Yeah. He would say one thing. He would say,
"The FBI won't be able to figure this out. Not even in 100 years."
That would be the end of the scene.
Wait. We also can we do? Will we do quotes at the end of this?
There's no quotes segment, but so feel free to throw them in whenever.
So right before this scene, I just realized we forgot and I wrote it down. After Spec does the second prank to Baki, which is basically doing the same prank again.
The kick in the face, right?
But kicks in the face. Someone yells, "He smiles, he smiled, call the police." It's an all-time great line.
Japanese law is very, very strict in some respects. Yeah, no, there's some good quotes in this episode. And the interesting thing is I'm realizing we probably have different quotes because I did the English dub and you did the sub, and so they're probably slightly off. Editor's note, that's my polite way of saying that quote that Max says is not in the English dub, so I can't use a clip of it.
Yeah, but anyway, Yujiro is a boss. He's definitely a great villain. He was actually, like, once I saw him, it actually convinced me, like, I might need to watch the show just to see what he does.
Don't watch too much of the show or else I can't have you back on as a guest.
Okay, actually, I won't watch anything. And then that way, I'll have this huge gap between this episode and what happens next.
I'll bring you back on when Yujiro fights somebody in like 20 episodes.
Oh, perfect.
So yeah, we talked about Baki's dad, Yujiro Hanma. I think the highlight of the episode is probably going to be the urinal scene. Do you want to set that one up?
First of all, this was the only scene Allie, my partner, saw. She walked in on me watching this scene, no. And she, listening to her OC podcast, had to stop and say, "What are you watching?" She was like, "I knew this was like gonna be like a weird show, but this is the strangest thing I've ever seen."
Hey, make sure to let Allie know if she wants to come on the podcast and find out more.
I think having her on the show would be so good. I think you'd get a lot of opinions in a good way. But man, this is a weird scene. Firstly, so the scene just before this, Spec is now in prison for smiling.
Yep. For life.
And but he's very content, which is also strange. He's like, "Oh, I love prison. I'm in a shelter."
It's cozy.
and there's plenty of fresh air here. This'll be great as my temporary base of operations.
A shelter, and then his belly grumbles and he goes, not a lot of food here. And then he breaks out, and we later learn, like, completely disembodies, like, the cashier of this local convenience store to pick up some Chinese buns, which is what they call in the sub. I don't know what it is.
They didn't even describe it in the dub. Also, he broke out much like the Hulk would. Like, there's just a hole in the brick wall where he has walked through it, apparently.
And then, so we don't know that he's left at this point.
Yeah.
They actually show this stuff retroactively. But so he's in the last shot we see of him is him being like, I'm hungry. Cut to the police department and them having also, I had to write down some of their scenes or some of their lines because it was just so weird. There's a scene where this just like, I guess like some intern, like they feel the random dialogue in this show is insane. And some random intern is like, can you practice with me?
Oh, yeah.
Sir, I'd like to ask a favor. You think you could help me train for next week's match?
For like a tournament. And then oh man, I thought I wrote it down. He's like, you cannot practice or something. He says you cannot practice karate. You have to hurt people.
Training with someone for 1 week won't make you stronger. But here's some advice. If you know you can't win, at least injure your opponent.
Yep, and that's like the chief of police who said that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Unbelievable. I like my immediate thought is like, this guy's definitely his son-in-law and he wants to beat him up.
Yeah.
So
but his daughter told him he can't, so he's just like, I can't practice with you.
and it's like, Dad, he's a blue belt. You can't tackle this guy again.
Well, it was funny. They were setting up that chief of police, you know, like everybody was saying, like, that's the chief. He's a real monster. And he's a big guy.
Yeah, he looks like Gordon, basically, right? But a little thicker. Like, he looks like
Gordon
the Dark
Ramsay?
Knight Returns.
I see.
Jim Gordon. Okay. Like the Dark Knight Returns.
We're not doing the Batman
Gordon.
episode anymore, Max.
Oh, it's too bad. I have so many more opinions with the Robert Pattinson. But okay, anyway, so there's this chief. Wait, we cut from Speck in the prison, hungry, to this weird random scene. Again, completely new characters. The whole room's talking up the chief. Dude, this guy's tough. He doesn't practice. He just beats up people. And then he goes to the bathroom. At the urinal, cut to just the top of someone's pants and the zipper being unzipped. And then the fear that you're like, this is anime. We don't know what's about to happen. Cuts to the urinal to just what is just a horse level stream of just urine blasting, annihilating the urinal. Like, it is spraying everywhere. It's flooding.
More, if I pulled out my garden hose, I couldn't get that much water coming out.
Impressed?
It is whatever the designer at, Nerf Super Soakers wanted to create. That was it. It was just, my God, it was spraying everywhere. And then what I will say, they must have had some notes from like their network or something, because the urine is water.
Yeah, it's crystal clear. They're both very hydrated.
So while Speck is hungry, he is perfectly hydrated.
Man, also, just as a side note, if I had a nickel for every time there's a stream of urine in this show.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
It's not every episode, but it comes up more than you'd think. But anyway.
Oh my God. It is unreal. I know Allie was like, you gotta tell Steve that was awful. It's so horrifying. And then he turns.
What are you doing here? Main vein ain't gonna drain itself, you know?
Not doing up his pants. Shows the buns to the chief of police.
Because it was Speck at the urinal beside the chief of police, unbeknownst to him.
Unbeknownst to him. And then he puts the bun in the chief's mouth. And then and then like you think he's gonna like either take a bite or whatever, and then he stuffs the whole bun with one finger into his little peephole of the way he's pursed his lips, and it's so disturbing. It is the weirdest scene in the entire episode, and probably that I've seen in 2022.
Yeah, I think it takes the crown for this episode for sure. I don't know how long it'll keep that title for though. Yeah, and then afterwards, Speck just goes back to his jail cell.
Mm-hmm. Perfectly content. He's like, I got my food, no problem.
So I think two more things happen in this episode. Goki Shibukawa and Yanagi talk to each other. Yeah. Yanagi, viewers of the last episode, that is the man who was in the Hannibal Lecter cage and used his hand as a vacuum to break the glass and then blew a man's brain out through his ears.
Oh my god.
Yes. He's an interesting guy. But I didn't think much happened in that scene. It was just Goki, which is the show's judo master, and him talked, and then Yanagi threw a tea kettle at him. I don't know how it sounded in the sub. In the dub, it was very dramatic. Like he said something like, I should have seen this coming.
I should have known.
Or something like that.
Oh, this scene is worth talking about. Okay, so again, two new characters we've never seen.
You've never seen
in the show. We've
seen one of them. We've seen the guy who throws the tea kettle.
But so there's two more scenes in this episode, and they're completely irrelevant to what has happened. Like there's no arc in this show. Like it just cuts to random crap. And these two new characters I've never seen, and then they do like an intro to them. Like it almost looks like you've never seen these characters.
Yeah.
Because they do a little flashback. I think is it Guko? Is that
Goki,
his name? Like his
I
last
believe.
name?
Goki. I always want to say Goku, but it's Goki.
Goki. He's described. This is his ability. He can throw anyone, no matter how strong.
That's just judo, Max. It's just judo.
That's insane. And then he's the one with the glasses, right?
Yes.
Yes. And so this hand-sucking guy, who I didn't know he had this fantastic ability to him, comes in, and they have a conversation really about nothing. Like, I'm strong, you used to teach me. Literally nothing. The scene is just leading up to him killing this guy. And so, to attack him, he throws a tea kettle at his chest. Like just straight at his chest, and I'm like, "Oh my god, he's gonna be burned." Doesn't react to the impact. In fact, he goes in the sub. It says, "You threw that at my chest," and he's just like describing what's happening. You threw it at my chest. There is mist around us.
Yeah, it's a nice short and sweet scene, and it has, I would say, no consequences.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yanagi just leaves afterwards. Yeah. So that takes us. Sorry, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I was gonna say the message of this show seems to be diversions. Right? You do a little show, whether that's to the hooligans with cans on their heads, or that's if you do a handshake punch, handshake kick to the face, or you're throwing tea at someone's chest, which already to me seems like not a diversion, but you've begun the fight. That is the fight.
Well, the more you watch this show, like it really is honestly less of a narrative and more of a thought experiment. And it's an author who is really into martial arts, and he thinks, and he just, every arc is a way of introducing an idea of, can this beat a guy who's really good at martial arts? So like the previous arc was a tournament where you have judo facing karate, facing like Chinese kempo and things like that. And then Baki wins, I think, because he's like such a master of all martial arts. And this arc at its core is criminals who don't play by the rules and do dishonorable things outside of the martial arts. Can they beat people who know martial arts?
which cues up one of the best lines at the beginning. This bald man just asking rhetorical questions. He's like describing he's like, you know what that's gonna mean, Baki? And Baki goes, I don't know. And he goes like, yes, but then they're gonna come. The 5 of them have come out, and you know what that means, Baki? And he goes, I don't know. And he goes, the old man goes, black versus white martial arts.
That is a sub. That did not make it to the dub.
Yeah, it is the craziest thing I read in the whole episode. I was like, what does that even mean? I have no idea what that means.
Black versus white martial arts. Oh my god. I wish they dubbed that. That would have been a great audio to add in. All right. So, the last portion of the episode, we are introduced to 3 new characters. Just quickly, what happens here?
Quickly, it's a random dojo. Looks basically like the fighting gym leader in every Pokemon game. Just like a tiny like wooden rectangular room, and they're fighting. And then it's like they amp it up. They do a lot of intros. This guy's the karate, like he's the karate master versus the Chinese Kempo master.
Yep. 2
conflicting styles. The Kempo guy wins, and then this karate guy goes on just a love fest. Just like completely pours his heart out for this guy in Chinese Kempo, and gives like a 2-minute TED talk on Chinese Kempo and being like 4,000 years of history.
I fought this man, and I lost. He beat me with a single strike. 4,000 years. For all that time, the Chinese have honed their fists in combat. From the time when part of our country was still underwater, his ancestors studied how to defeat others.
And they cut to these little huts in the grass and all this stuff as if he's like describing it. It's beautiful what they've done. And then he turns to his like, I guess his students or something. Like it almost sounds like he's like the leader of this ancient civilization, the way he's speaking. He's like, we will now take Chinese Kempo after he has defeated me, and therefore us by extension. We will adopt the Kempo. We will become Karate X Chinese Kempo. The first collaboration between martial arts.
Yeah, it's a very progressive and everybody likes Retsu. That's the name of the Kempo master. Could you tell when the animation changed for the fight?
Oh yes, I did the CGI switch. I wrote it down with big exclamation marks.
It's so horrible. The pure podcast listeners will never understand. And the funny thing is, there's probably like 36 episodes of Baki and then another 13 for Baki Hanma. Only the first season has this horrible CG stuff. They drop it as soon as they can, but there's still like 10 more episodes of this.
It literally becomes like Street Fighter, like modern Street Fighter graphics, like that weird, like it's drawn, but it's 3D.
And not like a nice pre-rendered cutscene or something. Like
No.
It looks like live gameplay footage.
Yeah, or someone rendering it in live speed. You know what I mean? Like they're just imposing it onto people who just fought.
Yeah. How does the episode end though? What's the final beat?
The final beat is another giant person enters the dojo, looking like Bruce Banner's father from the Eric Bana Hulk movie, the Ang Lee Hulk movie, with green eyes and basically says, "I'm next." Or, I forget what his line is, but he's like, "I'm here."
He said he's looking for Dopo Orachi, which is well, this might also be a difference between the dub and the sub, but he's looking for the karate guy's dad.
Excuse me. I've come here to find Dopo Orochi.
Oh yeah, because I was like, the final line of this episode is a character that I also don't know.
Well, you know what's funny? You would know him when they did the exterior shot of the building, and there was a man karate chopping a tiger. That's Dopo Orochi.
Oh, I did actually. Yeah. Because they do a little thing about him. Yeah. What a wild beat. What a wild beat to end this episode of chaos.
And for our listeners, that was Dorian. He was the man who was hung in the previous episode with the big tongue, and then he, like everyone else, killed everybody and swam to Tokyo. Yeah.
Man, the first episode sounds baller. Like it was just a prison escape.
We saw all 5 prison escapes. So that Dorian, Doyle, Yanagi, Speck, and Sikorsky, who didn't show up in this episode for some reason.
I love the sub is great because you get to hear the pronunciation of all those names.
Do they sound natural?
Yeah, yeah. Well, they've I don't know what the phonetics you refer to in Japanese, but they phoneticize it and it's great. But I love that they're like, he needs to be Sikorsky. Like that is his name in the show. Like it's not like his name was like something in Japanese and they changed it. Like he is Sikorsky.
This is a fun like super jump to the future. When Baki Hanma, the trailer for it came out on Netflix, it was only with the Japanese like audio, and so Jay Guevara, who's basically Che Guevara, who's a character in Baki, he keeps saying hi to Baki as Mr. Baki, and like it just sticks out so much. It's like Mr. Baki.
にしろ緊急事態だやるんだ今夜すぐがいいですね Good morning, Mr. Baki
I'll make sure to get an audio of that in. Anywho, all right, well, that was a nice brief 48-minute recap of what happened in this episode of Baki. You could have watched it twice in that amount of time. But yeah, okay, so I did have a few follow-up questions for you. First off, did you have any unanswered questions? Can I answer anything about the show for you?
Is the Baki Reddit spicy? Like, is it on fire?
It's a little too spicy and a little too spoilery. The thing is, Baki, it just keeps getting crazier and crazier. I've started reading along with the live issues that are coming out. And nice. Like what happened right now is spoiler alert, if anybody's not caught up, I'll try and be vague here, but Baki's stepbrother created a fighting style where he looks like a wild animal and he bites people, and he fought a sumo, so there's always something new going on. Like
my god.
Yeah, I haven't even talked about like the caveman, but we're gonna keep that for probably 50 episodes from now.
Wow, I'm so excited to talk. So, what's your outlook for this show? Are you gonna eventually skip episodes?
Skip episodes? No. Oh, my podcast? No, we're just doing it piece by piece. I'm just gonna do one of these a week, and that'll do me for a year, I think, and then we'll see what happens.
Oh, that's awesome. I can't wait. I can't wait to listen, honestly, too. So, or maybe I'm torn now because I don't want to, you said I shouldn't watch. Therefore, I not listen.
You can watch, but feel free to watch, but think of it like this. If you watch up to episode 8, you can't come back on the show until episode 9 type of thing. Anyway, okay. Two more questions for you. This is a fun one. Basically, what I'm doing to sort of help people as the show goes on is I want to get people to describe characters for me. And then I can have like a nice collection of characters and I can just give that to somebody to read up and then, make it easier for the next guest. I'm not doing that for the first few, just because they're all going to come out in a batch. Jack, the last episode, defined Baki as a guy who sits in the back of the class and has boyish brown hair and doesn't care about anything. So, yes, I'd like you to describe Speck for me in a sentence or two.
Oh boy, what a gift! Speck is like if the Kool-Aid Man somehow got into a General Snoke body, and then was dehydrated like a testicle. and then was also his soul was inhibited by Logan Paul. And all of his desires and motives were by food, by pranks, or by just fighting random people and destroying them.
I think that is a completely apt description. Thank you. All right.
You're welcome.
Now it's time for the big question.
Ooh.
Now that you've watched it, do you think that Baki is a good show?
That's a great question. I think it's like my dad went to an LCBO wine class, and they were like, whatever you like is the good wine. And I feel like that's half true because there's just garbage out there. Like if I made wine, it would be grape juice and poison. But I will say there's a lot to like with this show. This is a really good I'm bored, I'm making dinner show, or I have 22 minutes to kill between something and I want something just absolutely insane. It's super entertaining. Like it's great. It's got a lot of value. Is it good? I think the show thinks it is. But I really liked it though. And watching it twice, I respect how wild it is and how there's more urine to come. They doubled down. I appreciate that. I'd recommend the show.
All right, well, you heard it here, folks. Max gives Baki a recommend. Well, thanks for sticking in on this big episode, and thanks for coming on the show, Max. I hope to have you back sometime, and maybe we'll learn more about Spec and Yujiro.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited.
That's good. Do you want to sign us off? I haven't figured out an ending yet.
Ooh, maybe you should sign off with like the quote of the episode. So my sign off will be I'll quote Doyle after he obliterates Rob Robinson with his Gillette elbow. I'll do it in my here we go, and then you'll do music to make it sound intense and really cool.
All right.
I guess it was just a sport for you.
All right, and I'll sign off with, hey, look, it's Rob Robinson. All right. See you all next week.